I'm Conor Daly, and this is The Skinny.
From Fathead Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny, the birthday edition. Everybody sing happy birthday to Rico Elmore. Happy birthday, pal.
Thanks,
Happy
pal.
birthday.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks for this beautiful place here. We get to come and have a little bit of fun. And we want to welcome one of the superstars in IndyCar. Conor Daly is in the house here today. Thanks for showing up, brother.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for having me in this really impressive place.
I know.
Thanks, man.
It's behind the innocent facade of a bookstore.
Ooh.
Oh, that's Batman, I think, right?
I love it whenever you say,
Or Superman.
this is Amazon.
Yeah.
They should sponsor us because I do pump them up here a lot. So
Anything you want, man. The stock just continues to rise. The whole world's going down thanks to coronavirus, and Amazon's probably going up.
yeah, but they will have a cure in one of those
they probably have
one
test
of those
kits.
one of those,
They're selling hand sanitizer for $150 now.
all those masks that used to be $1.89
Yep.
are now $35.
but they will
exactly
save your life. And
yeah.
if you want to wear them while mowing, they help as well. Apparently. So
Exactly.
Excellent stuff. So the guy sitting alongside here has some credentials to go along with him. We'll go back a little bit, probably around age 15 or 16, won Stars of Karting East, and I bring that up because that was a vicious series back in the day. Skip Barber champion, Star Mazda champion, Formula 2000 champion, won the Walter Hayes Formula Ford Trophy at Silverstone in England. First ever American to do that. Congratulations. So you've got some stuff under your belt, brother.
Thank you. No, it's been an interesting life. I thought it was going to be a lot different. And when I was that age doing those things and winning those things, I wanted to have a Lamborghini by age 21 and a house. Didn't have either of those things. And, it's been interesting for sure. But I can't complain. No regrets, as they say. It's been a wild ride, and to be an IndyCar driver still is really cool.
Yeah, well, you got to have goals. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a Lambo at 21. That's a good one.
yeah,
I've moved it to 31 now. That's what I've moved it to.
So you've done some other things as well. Of course, you've enjoyed some success in IndyCar, but as of late, we've seen you inside of a midget. I had the pleasure of spotting for you last year. You were in a Lambo, and you actually won a race. That's not all bad.
Yeah, no, we last year, was really interesting. Starting the year, I only had one race on my calendar. The Indy 500 with Andretti Autosport, which was awesome, really incredible chance. But then, we did the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series as well, and I think our car won the most races in the season, which was really cool. We were third at the World Finals in Italy or Spain. It ended up being a really wild year. When I lost my IndyCar ride full time and at the end of 2017, it was like a whole full reset. Ended up doing, one race. We had the Indy 500 in 2018, and then ended up doing more races with Harding, the IndyCar team at the time, and then basically I had to think again. All right, where are we going to take this program to? And we took the Air Force to the next level with Andretti Autosport, which is really cool, and then ended up driving for two other teams last year as well and did 7 races instead of just one. So it became a much busier season. Life has sort of started to, go back the right direction where I want it to go. And it's all really since I started racing on dirt as well. So maybe that's, that's part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
The missing piece of the puzzle?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of exposure there, and the midgets, I think, the guys that are at the top of that field, have eyeballs on them all the time, and certainly the Chili Bowl. I know you went there.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't know how you ended up to be.
Neither do I. Yeah.
Somewhere in the soup there on Saturday, I'm guessing. But I mean, it's some of the best drivers of all time end up in the soup on Saturday, so it's not a huge deal there. But it's a tough sport, and the guys inside of that gig that race the better part of 100 times a year are hard to beat.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the dirt racing stuff has been very challenging for me. I mean, it's the opposite of what I've been doing ever since I started. My dad never even knew where a dirt track was when I was growing up. He was very much, an open wheel guy, Formula One, IndyCar. So yeah, it's been cool to try something. I was at a stage in my life where I was like, I don't really have anything to lose, so let's just try whatever I can do and whatever's, on the table to do. And that was it. So, David Bird made that happen for us, which is really cool. And he's been really supportive of that. And then Scott Petrie lately has been, anytime that we want to race, he's basically put a car out there for us, and it's been a really good car. So it's been a lot of fun, but I don't know how much more I'm going to do. I think I've kind of it's really hard because as a driver, you're really competitive and you want to do well, but it takes years to do well against the guys that have been doing it for years. So it's I don't know if I want to, continue to get, beat up on the racetrack and just, go through that. But it is fun and it is enjoyable, and I do think I'm learning something from it. But thankfully, I've got an IndyCar ride now where it's almost full time again, so that I can focus on that and be the best driver that I can be this year.
Yep, I've heard that 1 or 2 years in the dirt will really help you on the asphalt. Many more than that, I've heard, can develop some bad habits.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think people ask me, do you think it is helping you? And I said, well, it's not hurting me, so that's good. All the stuff that I did last year was all ovals except for, 2 races. So, and they all went pretty well, better than, they have gone in the past. So that's a good sign. I think I am learning stuff from it. I think it's been a lot of fun, and we got to keep bringing, motorsport fan bases together rather than separating them. So, if I can help out at all in doing that, then that's great.
I've got to ask you, the word on the street, I think, coming out of 2019 is that you would secure a ride with Andretti and U.S. Air Force, and then all of a sudden, the last PR that comes out, you go with Carpenter and you're doing all the road courses. And to throw a little caveat in, I've kind of heard a little rumor that there might be an oval track deal with Carlin.
Yeah, I don't know about that yet, but the Air Force program, Andretti is an incredible operation, and they've got so many cars, and they as a business, they brought in Colton Herta. That's 5 full-time cars. So then where do we fit in? It just didn't work for the amount of budget that the U.S. Air Force had to spend. And Ed's situation was literally perfect, for how much the Air Force was able to, contribute to the program, for how much that they are able to get out of it. It's awesome. And I've known Ed for such a long time. He's a great owner. He's a great person. He's a very much tied to Indiana, almost as much as I am. And it's really cool to be a part of that team. Obviously, they show up at Indy every year with incredibly fast cars. I mean, the guy's been on pole 100 million times. He's had all 3 of his cars qualified in the top 4 last year, so that's crazy. That's better than Penske. That's better than any other team. So it was a good spot. And, to get back on the road courses again is a lot of fun for me. I haven't got to start the season since 2017, so it's nice to be able to go into St. Pete, ready to get to work. And then I already have 4 races under my belt before we even get to the Indy 500, which I think is always super helpful. The one-off efforts are very hard, very difficult to just go through this entire winter, spring, and then show up at the biggest race in the world and just go racing for 500 miles. So it'll be nice to be warmed up for that one when it comes around.
You're excited about seat time going into Indianapolis, but we were just talking with Dixon the other day, and he said, we're going into the first race. I've been in the car for a day and a half. So
yeah.
The limited seat time, even going into the season, is so much different than it used to be. But like you said, to have no seat time at all and then try to come into Indy, it's a tall, tall task.
It's tough. And the funny thing is I have a rookie teammate, Rinus VK, and he's had, I think, 6 days in the car or 5 days in the car already, because the way the rookie days work and the way that whole situation played out since December, I think he's been in the car almost 6 days. And we got to Coda for the big preseason training, and it was freezing cold. It was raining all the time. I had 2.5 hours in the car, and then we tested at Sebring this week, and then now we're going racing. So for the veterans, like Scott said, it's we've had a day and a half. And there's a lot of new stuff with the aeroscreen. It's you've got 60 pounds added to the car right above the driver. That changes the balance quite a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think St. Pete is always kind of a bit of a gamble and a bit of a roll of the dice for a lot of people. But once you get 2-3 races in, then I think people start to really fine tune what they've got. And work with it. And then Indy is the first oval with the aeroscreen as well. So that could be a really interesting, science project as well.
Yeah, and that 60 pounds, from what I've heard, has really changed the balance of the car.
Yeah, in the day and a half that I've had, it definitely has. And it's just odd. I mean, I had to make a new seat as well because I couldn't see anything in my old seat out of the aero screen, and it was too low because we've got vents now that kind of are above the steering wheel and on the top of the tub. So it's definitely something to get used to, and I think we still have some work to do. We've been on the simulator like 6 days as well, trying to figure out what we want to show up with at St. Pete, and I hope we make the right choices. But yeah, it's definitely throwing a wrench in the whole program for sure.
So who else running St. Pete with you guys?
So it's just me and Renus. Yeah, so it'll be me and Renus on all the road and street courses, and then Ed obviously and Renus for the ovals, and then I'm just like the third guy at Indy. So
right on.
It's good. Renus is good. I mean, he's 19. He's. I mean, it's crazy to think that I'm like that much older than him
Right.
now. I mean, I'm 28, and he's very fast. He's a really good driver.
Where did he come from?
He came from the road to Indy, so he did all the USF 2000. Pro Mazda, stuff like that, or what Indy Pro 2000, whatever it is now.
Right.
And he's, he finished second in the Indy Lights Championship last year. So he's been on quite a rise, but IndyCar is a whole nother level. So there's going to be a lot that he's going to have to learn this year. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, the last time, that was with our suite that's out at the track. That's our trip every year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not going to be able to do it this year with some other things in the way, but it's always great. It's a great place to start, of course. Great weather, beautiful place to begin with. But it is. You see some really, really good people get kind of jammed up down there. So it's kind of a crapshoot.
And this year too, as well. Like I think there's going to be 27 cars racing.
That's
at
what I
St.
was going to
Pete.
ask you. Yeah, that's
there's.
cool.
Like, there's a lot of tracks that are actually having to, rethink their pit lanes because they might not have enough space for everyone. And that's, great for the series. Like, we've got a lot more cars. I think there's 24 full-time cars rather than 22, which is great. But you also have at least 5 or 6 races. Like, the Grand Prix of Indy might have, 29 cars. Like, it's crazy because you've got the fourth Penske running. You've got the Dragon Speed cars. You've got Spencer Pigot coming back. So, there's a lot more cars now for the year, which is great. And Roger Penske obviously has helped that. Obviously, adding money to the series doesn't help or doesn't hurt anything. You know what I mean? When you inject a ton of money, yeah.
And remodeling all because
Exactly. Bathrooms, cutting down trees, yeah. A
cutting
lot of
down
good
trees.
things, yeah.
I was for the tree cutting, by the way.
Yep.
Because now you can see from our suite all the way at exit of 1. So
he did it for you.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going to do it.
All the green fans send letters to Rico.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Apparently,
happy birthday, tree cutter.
Apparently, he's going to replant every tree that was cut down somewhere else. I don't know.
Just happens to be in a neighborhood behind the place.
Yeah, yeah, right in front of the Turn 2 suites.
I just think the name Roger Penske coming into the program quite possibly instigated a couple more cars coming in. I mean, the confidence that people have that he's going to make this thing better is huge.
I hope so. I mean, putting $2 million in the purse for the Indy 500 too. I mean, heck, all the drivers are happy about that. I mean, do we get much of that? I don't really know. I don't think so, but I think at least the teams, will get quite a considerable amount more money, which is cool. And I think there's a lot of good momentum in our series. I think we really have to use that because, I think NASCAR is doing a really good job as well, and who they're paying to market for them and who they're paying to be at their races. But they're spending money in a really good fashion. It's I see so much more NASCAR than I have ever seen, on the internet and on TV now. And so we got to be able to match that. We're obviously a lot smaller, a lot smaller series, way lower budgets. But I think with seeing NASCAR TV ratings go up for this first few races of the year is I didn't know that was possible for motorsport,
Right.
but now it is. And so if they can do it, we can do it because our product is very good.
Well, and that's, I mean, the race at St. Louis, for instance.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a better race. I mean,
Oh,
just the excitement and how much movement and everything like that. I mean, I go to a lot of Cup races. I mean, they have their deal in themselves by all means of what they do. But I'm telling you, the IndyCar product, and as we talk about with drivers, I mean, you guys are who they come to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just happen to be in a car. but
Yep.
you guys are who they come to see. That was always, that was always my thing with the NHRA. We were always talking about how cool it was and how, the NHRA, you had a lot of access to the driver and you could walk up. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I mean, I was telling the story the other day, the first time I ever met AJ.
Yeah.
I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I was probably maybe 7 or 8. But anyhow, believe it or not, my mother had to go on the field trip with me to the Speedway because, I don't know, they must have thought she would be a better chaperone than anybody else I went and listened to. But anyhow, so I had talked her into I had to use the restroom, which really meant let's go get autographs and break away from the group, which we did. And so anyhow, we went down there and I met AJ, and it was, that had to be, early 80s, right? And I've never forgotten it.
Yeah.
And, he's just an iconic figure, and then, my relationship with, Uncle Bobby and some of these other guys. I mean, that's what people need to know about. That's what they need to understand. They need to understand who Conor Daly is, where you came from. And, and that's kind of, when Ken and I first started talking about this and started doing this was we just really want to talk to the person. The racing thing is kind of a side note to us, which we think it's cool. We love it. We're into it. But, it's more about, knowing who the guy is in there and that, the hardships and the fights that it took to get to where you are today, which is pretty awesome.
For sure. And I think IndyCars, they are focusing on that. Like their campaign for this year is a different breed, right? So that's kind of cool. Like what we're doing is definitely more dangerous than NASCAR or Formula One or whatever. So like they're kind of focusing on the fact that like we might have a few screws loose or we might be a little crazy, but that's why we love it. So I think there's a lot of positive stuff going on, and they want to show who we are and how we got to where we are and how we got the ability to, shut off the danger part of our brain and just go out there and, do our thing.
Yeah.
I know in spotters land, we refer to them as the fast cars.
Yeah.
I mean, we spot, you spot for NASCAR, you spot for Xfinity or whatever, and just in common lingo is, what are you doing this week? And I'm spotting one of the fast cars. And making reference to an Indy car, of course. And going back to your point about St. Louis and your point about danger.
Yeah.
I mean, in this world of extremes, which everybody wants to go watch, they want to go watch X Games. They want to watch freestyle motocross and these guys doing crazy stunts, on these bikes, which is unbelievable. But in a world full of extremes that people want to watch people hang out on the edge, I'm blown away that the grandstands aren't just absolutely packed at every single oval track for IndyCar because it just does not get any sketchier than that. It is absolutely insane what you guys do, how close you are, tire smoke coming off of the cars, where you're banging and the wind's blowing you around and you're trying to keep it within a fraction of an inch of another car, but one more inch and it's disaster.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy what we're doing. I mean, and even the road course product right now too is really good and it's great racing, and it's just a matter of literally forcing people to watch it. Like NASCAR forces you to watch them, and it works. Like the radio, like it's a matter of putting our product in front of people at the right time, the right places, or at least making people aware enough to know, like, hey, this is what we got going on. Check it out, because what we're doing here is very crazy, and like, especially on the ovals, I agree, like, is super wild. And like Gateway is one of my favorite races, obviously. And the track promoter and the event people do such a great job making people aware of that event. Like, you're right next to a major city, and they've packed the stands every year so far, and that's awesome. Like, I wish we could do that with Texas still. I wish we could do that. Iowa does a pretty good job as well because it's a night race again, and that's great. But like, every oval race should be a night race, right? Other than the Indy 500, I think. And I think that's we're getting there. We're getting there. It takes time, but
it's
on
the
cool.
rise.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it the other day. I mean, and even the road courses. Boy, when you go to these road courses, Mid-Ohio and Watkins Glen, and Road America, I mean, you look at the campers and the stuff that's going on, these massive facilities are packed on the inside. It's incredible.
And it's the party.
Yeah. Oh,
it
yeah.
is the party, right?
Yeah. It's the weekend party.
That's right.
Exactly. And I think our at-track fan base is great. Like you go Long Beach every year sold out. You go Road America every year sold out. I mean, all those classic Mid-Ohio, all the classic road courses and all the street courses are like very well attended events, and like anyone, I think everyone is aware of that. But then the people are like, oh well, that we saw Texas. Well, Texas has like 200,000 seats because they built it 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So like, you're not going to fill that, but like our racing there puts on a great show. So I think there are a couple places where obviously we can still do a better job, but the product is not the problem right now. The product is definitely not the problem. I think we know that. It's just a matter of forcing people to be more aware of what the heck we're doing.
Yeah, and that social media, as you talked about, I think in the beginning, just call it even a few years ago, so fragmented, everybody wasn't really sure, what way do we go? How do we really approach this? Well, now, and also courtesy of technology, they're able to hone in on the audience that they want. They want that demographic, whatever it may be, that, you know, whatever the sport is that they want to hone in on. And now the technology has allowed them to really do that. And you're right. I think NASCAR has done a much better job. And no question, IndyCar is on it as well. So they can get that information right in front of the people that want to go and watch.
Yeah, I mean, the deal that NASCAR did with like Barstool Sports, I think is like one of the best things that happened to NASCAR in the last 20 years. And it's the same with like Formula One and Netflix. Like the Netflix show for Formula One, best thing to happen to Formula One in my lifetime for sure.
Yeah, I heard it's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I mean those are two things that everyone has Netflix. Boom, Formula One. What the heck's Formula One? I'm going to watch it. Oh, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And like Barstool Sports, huge. I mean, a lot of people have differing opinions on it, but like it's a huge network and like a huge group of people that like all of a sudden, boom, they already like sports if they're following Barstool Sports. All right, well, we'll give NASCAR a shot if these guys are giving it a shot. I mean, they don't know that they're being paid to give it a shot, but it's incredible, and I think that was so smart. And I mean, I try to be, you know, think ahead of the game and trying to like figure out how to get ourselves out there more, and I like that. So hopefully IndyCar finds that, you know, that next step to kind of. I don't think we're gonna get a Netflix show, but you know, I think there's a lot that we can do, and there's a lot of new people in place for this season that hopefully can, you know, bring us a little bit more.
I don't
viewership.
know that I agree with you. I think you could get a Netflix show, and the reason I say is watching that Formula One show. What's so cool about it is seeing that those are regular guys.
Oh yeah,
those, you know, watching the team manager for Haas throw F-bombs out like a banshee because he's pissed off and things aren't going his way. It's like, oh, that's a real dude. That's racing right there. That's behind the scenes, and seeing how hard these guys dig all the time. And they're doing the same thing that you guys are doing at IndyCar, and the same thing that mom and dad are doing at the go-kart track, you know, with their kids digging hard growing up.
All perspective.
And it could easy be. IndyCar could easy fill that gap in, you know, over here. And that's kind of the basis of this show. Right. We want to talk to you guys. Yeah. We want to know some behind-the-scenes stuff. People want to know, like, who are these guys? We see them in the race car. That's cool. But once you become a real person, they hear, you know, you and Hinchcliffe going back at each other with whatever you do to each, you know, scamming each other here and there, or whoever it may be. Oh, yeah. They want to hear that stuff, you know? I mean, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I think there's our fans, you know, our core IndyCar fan base, you know, they will absolutely come up and talk to us at all the races, and I think we try to do a great job at being personable, and I certainly don't mind talking to anyone, and I think, like, the problem with Formula One for a long time is, like, I didn't know how to communicate with anyone, and now, like, you're at these guys' houses in the Netflix show, and you're, like, seeing what's going on, and, like, I know most of them already because I raced with them, but, like, I haven't talked to them in a long time because, you know, you're F1 superstardom. You never see anyone. But, like, for us, I think if we had something like that, there is a lot of really interesting people in the IndyCar world. And I think, you know, there's an opportunity to put us at a higher level for sure. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we got to create an incredible, you know, racing product again this year. We have to fight for everything we've got. And then hopefully all the work that Roger puts in as well can, you know, we can all be sailing off into the sunset on, you know, new boats that we can buy with all the new purse money that everyone's got, you know.
I mean, their pontoons are going great at Johnny Morris's place.
Yeah, exactly.
Little 40-horser.
Yeah. I mean, we're not F1, so we're definitely sticking with pontoons at first, not yachts.
Not a big motor if you want to go on out on Eagle Creek. So just remember that.
You're a great person to bounce this off of. At least for myself and Robert, every sponsorship deal we've ever attained has been based on a relationship. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been, sending a deck off and showing them the accomplishments and what you're going to do and the exposure you're going to get. That's part of it for sure.
Yep.
But it's always based on a relationship. Is that the way it's worked out for you as well?
Yeah, I think 1,000%. There's never been, I've never got a yes from sending someone an email. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is me and 5 different pages on a PDF. Would you like to give me $8 million? Absolutely not.
It's like, thank you. Finally, I got the email.
Yeah.
I could write the check.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't sent you an email yet, but it might be coming after this. Who knows? But we'll see, man. I mean, it's like the U.S. Air Force relationship is a prime example. I mean, I would not be an IndyCar driver without them. I mean, I would not be relevant at all. I once I got dropped from being a full-time driver without sponsorship, I didn't have enough going for me to be hired by anyone. So I'm totally okay with that because we were able to develop this relationship through Tom Burns, which was such a random. Just a random sit-down meeting, and we all ended up at the Indy 500 in a very chaotic sense. But we made it, and again, developed this relationship with the U.S. Air Force. They like what IndyCar gives to them, and they have got a positive return on their investment, which is hard for people to say these days. And this is year 3 of a relationship. This is the longest sponsor that I've ever had by a long way, and it's really cool. I've met some of the most inspirational people, I think, of all time. I mean, these, like, we're talking 3-star generals. We're talking like the first female fighter pilot. I mean, incredible people are a part of this program. And so it makes you want to go out and deliver for them, obviously, in an incredible fashion. And now we finally get to see this car a lot more often. We only had the Air Force car last year for 2 races and 3 races total. And now we're doing 13 already. So they're already getting so much more exposure and so much more, to be proud of. So many more opportunities to obviously, get on the podium and win races for them. So it's definitely a relationship-built business. This is a relationship I hope to have for a very long time, or at least until I can reestablish myself, in the IndyCar world. And you don't need a sponsor anymore to be relevant or to be, employed. So yeah, I'm definitely proud to have developed that relationship, and hopefully it obviously continues for a while.
Well, the reason I ask about that relationship in relation to your sponsorships is because I think that's what that Formula One show does. You get behind the scenes, and all of a sudden you meet these drivers, or you're watching these drivers, and it creates a pseudo relationship. But if you watched the full season last year, you feel like you're friends with a couple of those guys, And I think potential sponsors that are out there that would watch that would have a good feel for your personality. That's a guy we want to represent our company. Let's go meet that guy, or let's talk to that team, and it can certainly generate some excitement in that area. That's why I think it would be a great idea for IndyCar to take a look at something like that.
Well, Formula One paid a lot of money for that, so there's a lot there.
But it can be done. I'm in production. It can be done at a very reasonable rate, and there's a ton of cameras around there shooting a bunch of footage. And you could come up with a reality-based show without breaking the bank and cut a deal with Netflix.
And NBC, we have a great relationship with NBC, right?
Sure,
so if you put something on there, I mean, start it out with the NBC Gold deal because we've got great support there for those guys. But, you're exactly right on I think, drivers either retaining sponsors or getting sponsors because of what they're doing and how they're interacting with people. I mean, the Air Force did have options to not be with me for this year. And it wasn't, well, I didn't like that, but the reason they stayed is because of the work that I put into it and the stuff that I'm trying to do for them, because I think nowadays you have to work hard to be relevant or to be a driver still. And that means for your sponsor or for your people. So, that is very important. I think there are people realizing that more and more. I think young drivers are doing that more and more, which is really cool. So it's an interesting era to be a racing driver.
And I mean, the interesting thing about it is what he's talking about. We communicate quite a bit about a lot of different things, and we've, Conor's represented us unbelievably, over the last few years. And, the thing about it is he comes to the event for my daughter, a fundraiser for her, and he still stopped in, which meant the world to me to begin with. But he also said, I got to get out of here because I have to go down to the Murat to a recruiting thing, I believe, right?
Yeah.
A recruiting thing. And, I mean, I know a lot of these guys, as we all do, and there's just not a lot of them that do that. And what he's doing is, it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's racing, it's putting the work in. And, it's business in general. And this is his business, and, his office just happens to go 200+ mile an hour, which I feel like mine does a lot of times, but it definitely is not going that
And
fast.
I think it's a great choice of sponsor matchup as well, too, because maybe you get to snag a ride with the Thunderbirds or something somewhere along the way.
I did, yeah. I've been in a fighter jet twice
Have
now.
you really?
So, yeah,
Oh.
and part of the deal with Ed Carpenter really wants to ride in a fighter jet. Like, that's his thing. And I think we're going to get him in a fighter jet, but they also want me and him to jump out of a AC-130 gunship out of the back of it with the wings of Blue Team. So I think you'll be seeing me and Ed Carpenter fly out the back of a perfectly good airplane
At the end of the season?
Well, that is in question.
Race
We're
morning.
thinking we're thinking potentially landing the golf course about hole 9, whatever, and then see what happens.
We could do that deal. I think it was 2 years ago. I was spotting for Munoz, and they had the helicopters in the infield, and the guys were going down on.
One.
Yeah. I think we're doing it 1 and 4.
Well, this year the Air Force they also sponsor Bubba Wallace, and so they had the primary sponsorship at the Daytona 500, and they threw him at the back of a plane, and he landed in the middle of the track, Daytona 500. And so I was like, well, they set a standard here where, I don't know, we're going to have to get some sort of FAA approvals to jump in the middle of the golf course or something in the middle of the track.
Good.
Or anywhere else, because I don't care. I'll jump out of a plane with them. I think it would be awesome. And Ed is all in on that, too, which I did not know. I did not know Ed Carpenter was a wild man. Apparently he wants to ride in a fighter jet and jump out of a plane. So that's great.
He loves ovals, so this should
He's
say
very
a lot.
fast, yeah.
But, the interesting thing he's talking about, everything with the Air Force. I've had the pleasure to meet a lot of the people that, not all of them by all means, but a lot of them, being involved and being around the whole deal. And, the first combat fighter jet female, she is amazing with a great family as well. And, Hopper, that was, kind of the guy that was head over recruiting, since retired, but still, around a lot, good guy. The interesting thing about it is how excited they are with what he's doing. And that is an unbelievable sponsor, right? It takes away this is, this is super team, or this is you. And, when you finally have your sponsor, not a team, but your sponsor, that's what means something. And it's something to cherish. And, I mean, think about Chip for all those years with Target.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Chip Ganassi, man. And, I mean, hell, whoever knew that would end?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I grew up in an era where I did not know Chip Ganassi Racing other than Target. Right? Like I was
always said the way you said it.
Yeah,
Target Chip Ganassi is how you said it.
Ever since I existed as a human, that was it. And they were the same colors. There was like this cool stuff. And then when that went away, I was like, I don't even know what to do anymore. Like, how do we even say that?
So do we go to PNC Bank and buy soap? Or
Yeah. Do you buy your Energizer batteries there now? I don't know. But yeah, and General Levitt, the 3-star general that you're talking about, first female fighter pilot, her son races go-karts. And so, she's been a crucial part of our program. Sadly, though, she will be moving on to another role this year. So, we're trying to get them, and as well, Major Ross McKnight, who's part of our program as well. They're as part of the Air Force, you got to move on to a different job or different, role. And so we're trying to obviously close out their role with some success here. So hopefully we can do that.
It's exciting to see what's going on in the economy. It's exciting to see, when Dixon, we were talking with him the other day when he was in. The interesting thing about it is, you mentioned the road to Indy with these guys that are there. And, I think with Roger, and listen, there's nothing against the Hallman George family. I understand they had to be worn out.
For sure, yeah.
This was life. I mean, since they were born, okay? I mean, this is what they've been. And, at some point it's time to pass the torch. And you know what? Tony's the one that said, hey, we probably ought to talk to Roger and see if he's interested. And, you know, your stepdad, Doug, being involved with all this. I mean, it's so exciting to see. I think the road to Indy will come back. And I don't know what that means. You know, you would like to see some stuff come through USAC. You know, who knows what that means, though. But it seems exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of positivity. I mean, Roger, again, it's like it's an odd lifetime to be in when you grow up not seeing anything else but Target Chip Ganassi. But I also didn't know anyone except for thanking the Holman George family, right? Like that was, you get up at this, do your speech, thank the Holman George family, and then now you're like, we're in a new era. Like, thanks, Roger. Congratulations on winning again, but thank you for also owning. You know what I mean? Thanks for doing that.
Why have you got a car in this and you? No,
yeah. Why did your car have 50 extra horsepower? What's going on here? No, it's going to be cool. I mean, it's a wild era to be involved in, like technology wise, and where the sport's going and what's happening in the world just in general. So, but I'm excited, and it's going to be fun this year. I just can't wait to get just going.
Finally, you're back in this deal. I mean, almost a full season run. And last year, as you said, started off shaky with just a little bit on the calendar. You end up pretty good, and you end up filling in a couple of times. But I want to talk about that Indy 500 race, because I believe it was just before the final restart where you were in the top 5, but were you third?
We were 4th, I think, at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching you. It's like, dude, like he's got one put together here, and your car was good.
Yeah, it was.
I want to know what happened on that last restart.
Yeah, so honestly, red flags kill people. I mean, it's terrible. The red flags, everything gets super hot. We'd been struggling with our gearbox all day, first to second gear, because you obviously don't use it that much except for pit stops, and our when we looked at it, the data, just going first to second gear just took triple the time that it should have, and that's what happens. Red flags sometimes. That's why I think drivers hate red. I hate it because everything just stops, and like all this well-oiled machine that's been going for 180 laps, and you shut it down, and so it gives you a lot of room for error. A lot of interesting things can happen. So it was a shame, but we still had a great day, and it was still the last 3 years have been every year I've been improving my best finish at Indy. So we want to keep doing that. Last year was my best qualifying. It was my best finish. We want to obviously continue to improve on that now this year, which I think we will. And honestly, I had never run that far forward in the race. So, I was learning a lot myself. Like, when we settled in and it was Joseph, Simon, Alex, Ed, and me, I was like, well, this is exactly where I want to be. But it was a very different race from there, because if in my past, I'd been just trying to do anything, just trying to make up anything, go from 33rd to 20th is a huge challenge in general. But we were now at the sharp end, so I put a lot of way in in the back of my brain for hopefully this year, to where it's like, all right, now we're going to work on when do we need to pit for maximum fuel efficiency? When do we need to do this? How, do I make a move on this guy? How aggressive do we be on restarts? Because there's a lot of really interesting stuff that I was able to pick up, and then now hopefully you can use, because there's a lot of the guys, they do that every year. But for me, it was like, all right, this is a new thing. This is a new group of people to race with, and it's a great group of people to race with. I like those guys a lot. So it'll be cool to hopefully be able to use that again this year.
Yeah, and we bounced that off of Dixon, and that race in particular, the progression of that race and how much more aggressive it gets, really starting past the halfway point. But when you get down to the final 25 laps of that deal, they're 3-4 wide, down in the grass, and they're doing things with those cars that nobody thinks is possible. I'm not even sure they're possible. Somehow they get away with it. And you're up there hanging right with the guys, and had that red flag not come out, I mean, you had a top 5 working, and you were hanging right with those guys. So I'm sure you did learn a lot.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, heck, I saw Will Power smack the wall out of 4 with 10 to go. I mean, he's still going, and he was fine. So but there's situations like that happen. You're like, yeah, this is the last 20 laps, and it doesn't really matter. You got cars bouncing off the walls, you got people all over the map, and that's sort of what was going on. And so I think I needed to be a hair more aggressive myself, because I was sort of getting used to making up spots on the restarts. But then we have this issue. Probably should have thought ahead, thinking, all right, the gearbox is going to suck, so we got to either screw everyone behind me and then continue to do something else. So again, a lot of stuff that you can build on. And it was fun though that whole day. I mean, it was a lot of fun to be a part of that event, that race with guys that are close friends. Alex and Joseph and Ed and that's where I really that's what I took the most from for sure.
Do you feel like it put your name on the map?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I think it certainly didn't hurt. I mean, we were up there quite a lot. I still have not seen the race. I apparently need NBC Gold to watch any of the races from last year. So I'm trying to wait on an NBC Gold pass for to watch any of the races from last year. But
write it in your contract.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, but it certainly did. I think everyone judges so much in IndyCar off of the Indy 500. I've been on the podium before, and we've led a lot of races, but then everyone comes back to, well, Indy's always been tough for them. I was like, yeah, but there's 16 other races. Like if something can go wrong for people so often at Indy. I mean, Tony Kanaan took him 25 years or whatever to win the race, but the guy's still a champion. The guy's won so many other races, but everyone looks to Indy. So you always got to continue to just up your game there and hope for a little bit of luck. But my goal for sure is to finish in the top 5 next year. I mean, you got to try and again go from happy with top 10 to be now we want to be top 5 or potentially fighting for the win, and that would be pretty rewarding.
Well, the guy that the Chili Bowl kept getting away from.
Yeah,
he was on our show and won the Chili Bowl.
And then he won. There you go.
It happened.
So,
I mean, isn't it amazing to think that Kyle Larson,
exactly,
right? That guy has been doing that for so long, and he's so good.
Nothing he hasn't won.
Yeah,
I mean, and he is unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable. And I mean, it was. So I was there. Did you bail after your deal?
Yeah, I was upset with my life. Yeah, I wanted to get out of there.
You shouldn't have been upset with your life. Now I said this the other day when Dixon was on. I said, we were talking about Ferrucci and you and the guys that ran and Davidson and stuff like that. I said, listen, when Conor ran the BC 39, whoever did that to him should be shot. Because that's like throwing him to the wolves right out of the gate. It's here you go, good luck, But watching you run there and then watching you run at the Chili Bowl, you gave it a run at the Chili Bowl. And I mean,
it was fun.
Listen, the people that were behind you had been doing it a hell of a lot longer than you. Trust me.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just the way it goes. But you watch it, you look at people that have won that thing numerous times. Stewart, you got Swindells, both of them. And all these guys that have won that thing. I mean, you ask any of them, there's a little bit of luck that plays into that whole program there. Sure. But the whole Indy 500 thing, I mean, it's. I mean, who was it that was it? Hinchcliffe that was leading in the guard car? No.
JR.
Hildebrand leading.
Last lap.
Yeah, leading in the H.
But I mean, last year for sure, Simon, he had the fastest car. Simon was so fast, and he wasn't on the, or was he on the pole? No, I don't.
I thought he was on the pole. I thought he had a perfect month.
Yeah,
of May.
it was. He
won the Grand Prix.
His car was so fast. But you know what? You still have to make the right moves at the right time.
Right.
Rossi was trying hard, but he had the fast car. So you obviously want to have that, but in the odd chance that you might not have the fastest car, you better be able to make some really ballsy moves at some point, or be at the right place at the right time to take advantage of stuff like that.
And I got to tell you, the atmosphere, and I was talking about this as well. The atmosphere at the Speedway for the month of May is, and I would, the Holman George family, I would give a ton of credit to Doug and his staff. The people that he's brought in, along with the help of Mark Miles and that group. But, the Krislofs, bringing in the entertainment. And, somebody said, why do they do this snake pit? This is so stupid. And I said, well, here's the deal with the snake pit, right? I said, you have all these people that otherwise would never be at that. I would put about 99% of them would never be there. They show up. And you know what? What if 10% of them go, man, that was badass. We're going back to that. And you know what? I don't know what part was badass. I mean, there were people back in the day that went to the snake pit just to burn cars down.
Exactly.
And that was badass. But they still went back there for a good time. So, and that's really what it is. It's turned into, it's not, and this is the same thing with St. Louis. It's not so much of a race as it is an event. The road course races, it's an event. So they have an event there where, you know what, you can camp and you can do this and you can do that. And that's the cool part of it. That's when you have a good time. You can get together with everybody. I mean, I was at Daytona this year. I was, fortunately Ryan, was able to come through his deal. Corey LaJoy as well. But, I was at Daytona and we were set. I was up in the Toyota suite hanging out with them for a little bit on Sunday. And I was amazed with how many people were there. And you know what? It was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome because you know what? Those people were there. They were spending money that they maybe couldn't spend before, So if you have people spending money that they maybe couldn't spend before, now you have sponsors spending money that they wouldn't spend before. And the deal with, bringing more cars, it's unbelievable. I was going to ask you how many cars you thought for St. Pete. And kind of the tour, how many people will be touring or being on the tour this year. And I mean, that is awesome. And listen, we need all of them. Okay. We need IndyCar. We need NASCAR. But, we were talking about the Indy Lights series. We were talking about Indy Lights when Dixon started. Yeah. There were 30 cars, I think, or something like that he said. And, now you have 30 cars. That's unbelievable. It's a great stepping stone. But you look at the way NASCAR did it, well, it's pretty hard to look at one of those cars and go, oh, that's a Cup car and that's an Xfinity car. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if that's the case, well, Cup, it's X amount of money to run. It's a big number. Well, if it's kind of the same car and really kind of the same engine, now you have a lot less expense moving from, the Indy Lights series onto the IndyCar series. And it's a great stepping stone if they detune these cars or however they do it where, IndyCar, you can only run so many races on one of these engines. Well, hell, maybe you can run the whole year if they tune them back enough. And it is a great stepping stone to come through, and it is the road to Indy. So I hope they get that back because I think it's important. I mean, I'm usually pretty well bombed by the time the Freedom 100 runs, and I'm not sure what they're doing.
But it's a good product, too.
One of the best races of the year. Every year, man. It's unbelievable how close it is, right?
It is. It is. Exactly. Wade Cunningham he was a pro at it forever. And
I mean, even when I was doing Indy Lights, 2011, like both Joseph Van Newgarden and I were in Indy Lights teammates at the same time, and we still had 20 cars. I mean, that's where you had to be.
Right.
And that, that was the next step was IndyCar. And obviously Joseph made it happen. A lot of other people made it happen. And the Indy Lights car is actually a great car. Like I did some of the development for it before it came out. And like, it's a great car. It's just a matter of, and the prize is incredible. I mean, you get to do, 3 IndyCar races or like enough budget to do that. And like, that's really good. It's a better prize than almost any other junior Formula category in the whole world.
Right.
But again, it costs $1 million to do it. I mean, it is tough. You got to have enough sponsorship or enough support to be able to do it, and there's got to be enough teams too. Right now, you've just got like Andretti, Ballard. Like, there's only like three teams, and then if you want to be with the fourth, it's like, do I really have a shot at winning here? So that's they've got to be able to get back to like having quite a diverse amount of teams, and I think they will. I really do because as IndyCar grows, they're able to focus potentially more money on the ladder series. Because right now, I mean, like USF 2000, I mean, those guys have 30 cars every race. That's the first level of the road to Indy, but that is really strong. And those guys are racing hard. And then Indy Pro 2000 is even better now.
Well, they have a smart program there with that F2000 tub working in Pro Moz or Pro
Indy Pro, whatever
it
is.
Whatever it's at the next that middle level.
Same tub.
It's the same tub.
Yep.
It's a brilliant move.
I agree completely. Yeah.
Good stuff. What year did you win at Long Beach in Lights?
2011.
2011.
Yep. Yeah. It's a good time. We led the championship after the first 3 races, and then I went off to Europe and never
that was
came
the
back.
old style car, right?
Yeah. Everyone asks if I regret it, and I don't know. Joseph's got a house in Nashville and a Camaro and
Well,
2
Joseph went to
championships.
Europe, too.
And I have a Subaru still. So I don't know.
Funny thing is, we were talking about this, how timing is everything, because
Yeah.
Joseph went to Europe. Not only did he go to Europe, but his team owner died. He passed away.
Yep,
And he went on to, was it GP2, where he really didn't have
Tried
much.
GP3, yeah.
GP3,
first
where he
year.
didn't have much success. And then
Yeah.
and then the door opened up over here with Sarah Fisher, and the timing of it for him
Yeah.
just worked out perfectly. And you battled over there. You had some success in GP3. You know, a couple of wins, Barcelona, Valencia. And, of course, you certainly had a highlights reel at Monaco. But
Yeah. But it's Joseph still. There's still no other young driver who has ever signed a contract like Joseph did his rookie year. He had a 3-year contract as a rookie coming out of Indy Lights. No one has signed a deal like that since. And I mean, like in the last 10 years. So like that's exactly what you need though. Cause like, did Joseph win any races his first year? No. Second year? No. Third year? No, I don't think so. Not till like year 4. And then like, that's like, it's hard. Like IndyCar is very difficult. And like, imagine if Joseph was cast off year 1 because he didn't win a race or something. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy's 2-time IndyCar champion now because he had time to develop and he had a chance with support of people like Sarah Fisher and Ed Carpenter. And then
think
you
of
go to
all the
Penske.
young talent that came up before him that were Indy Lights champions, and you rattle off some of the biggest names that never got that opportunity.
It's true, and I think that's, you know, I hope to see. Obviously, now this year we've got McLaren who did, you know, who've got 2 rookies essentially with O'Ward and Askew, and I'm like, that's again probably the biggest deal that any rookie's got is to go straight from Indy Lights champion to, you know, McLaren, whatever it is now, Aero McLaren, Spam, whatever you call it. But yeah, it's. I hope that more teams look at the guys that coming through the road to Indy like McLaren did, be like, yep, we want these 2 young guys, because it's very much the Formula 1 mentality as well.
And
You're always going to
be-
go with the young hotness, right? Let's get these guys in. They're young and hungry. They're going to do the job, and I think they can do it in IndyCar as well. But you know, we'll have to see what happens.
You know, and there ought to be some incentive to the team, right?
Yeah.
The road to Indy ought to have some incentive to bring them through, right? To pull them through there. And, you know,
free lunch at every race.
Yeah, you know, you can get a cookout, and Roger and Greg are the ones running the grill.
It's a complex system, but you're right. All the fingers, all the spokes have to work together. And it is a complex way to try and get all of that happening. But if there's a way to do that, then that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, and here's the last thought here. You know, you're talking about the young talent and things like that. Man, look at Christopher Bell.
Yeah,
he was
guy's a legend.
he was killing them in everything, and now he's in Cup, and he's like, you know, and I mean, he's supported by JGR, so it isn't like he's running anything bad. So, anyhow, Connor, thank you as always for taking time for us, and
yeah, man, best of luck this year. Great to see you back behind the wheel, man.
I'm excited. It's going to be fun. And,
pleasure spotting for you last year, too.
Yeah, thank you. No,
I think it was a
great.
spotter that helped you win.
That was
Barber,
it.
for sure.
That was it. It's a confidence-inspiring voice, this man right here.
I'm not sure what that is. I have nightmares about it sometimes.
He's like, let me get the race over with soon so that guy will stop talking to me. He's like,
there you go.
It's just like KO said. You know, you get real drunk the night before and you feel horrible, and you know you want to run the chili bowl as fast as you can so you can get out of the car. So
exactly.
So thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it. Best of luck in 2020.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Skinny. Be sure to check out all the latest sun and optical eyewear at fatheads.com. Special thanks to our sponsorship partners at Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts. This has been a production of Fathead Studios. Please remember to subscribe.